I'm just a janitor. The guy who cleans up after the real workers. Or, at least, that's what I thought when I took the job here 6 months ago. They promised it was straightforward, low-key. But nothing about this place is low-key. Not the rules. Not the people. And certainly not what's behind the doors I'm forbidden to touch. I've always been the quiet type. You know, the one who stays in the background, does what's asked, and doesn't ask too many questions. But this place, it changed all that. When they first brought me in, it seemed simple. A cleaning job. Just mopping floors, wiping down surfaces, nothing extraordinary. But as the days passed, I started to realize how wrong I was. 6 months in and I was still cleaning floors. Still following the same set of instructions. I couldn't figure out why everything felt so off. No one ever spoke above a whisper. There were rules. Lots of them. But they didn't feel like ordinary workplace rules. They felt different. As if they were written for a purpose I wasn't allowed to understand. At first, I followed them without question. I mean, rules are rules, right? But the longer I spent here, the more I realized these rules weren't just keeping me safe. They were there to keep something else safe. Or maybe, to keep me contained. I pushed my cleaning cart through the long, dimly lit hallway. The concrete floors are cold beneath my boots, and the walls seem to stretch on forever. Industrial doors line both sides of the corridor, each marked with numbers and symbols I've been told not to ask about. The hum of machines is constant in the background, a low, almost soothing sound, but it doesn't feel right. It never does. I pass by warning signs on the walls. They're everywhere, big, bold letters telling me what I can and cannot do. And let me tell you, there's a lot I can't do. The first one I see today is the same one I've seen hundreds of times before. Rule number 1. No unauthorized access beyond these doors. I've never tried to open those doors. I don't even think about it. I know better. But still, the temptation lingers, just under the surface. What's behind them? What's behind all of these doors? Rule number 2, ID badge must be visible at all times. I pull my ID badge out of my pocket and clip it to my chest. I've learned to keep it visible, especially after the first couple of weeks when they warned me not to forget. They didn't need to say it twice. After all, a violation of these rules could mean more than just a slap on the wrist. That much, I know now. Rule number 3, do not look into containment rooms. The third rule is a simple one, yet it always gets to me. I've passed those rooms countless times. I've never looked in. But sometimes, I can't help but wonder. What's inside? I know I'm not supposed to know. I've been told it's for my safety. But I can't shake the feeling that the rules aren't really there to keep me safe. They're there to make sure I stay ignorant. To make sure I don't ask questions. To make sure I keep my head down. As I walk past the signs, the familiar buzz of the facility's air system fills the silence. The floor beneath me echoes as I push my cart. It's all routine, at least it's supposed to be. But even then, I start to feel it, the weight of the place pressing down on me. I've been here long enough to know that nothing is as simple as it seems. I stop for a moment, staring down the dark hall ahead. The lights overhead flicker faintly, casting strange shadows along the walls. Everything is clean. Everything is quiet. But underneath it all, something feels wrong. I can't quite explain it. It's the sort of feeling you get when you know something is out of place, but you can't put your finger on it. And I've had that feeling ever since I started working here. These rules, simple rules, at least on the surface, are supposed to keep me in line. But I start to wonder. What happens if I don't follow them? What happens if I go just a little further? I snap myself out of my thoughts and keep moving. I know better than to linger. I'm just here to clean. I'm not supposed to ask questions, not supposed to get curious. But when you work in a place like this long enough, you can't help but notice the things they don't tell you. I reach the end of the hall and turn the corner. There it is, room 32G. The door is marked with a simple number, but that doesn't matter. I know what's behind it. I know better. They've made it clear to me, and to everyone else, that this room is off limits. Yet, here I am, staring at it. The air smells different here, metallic, like something's been left out too long. There's a hum, almost like an electrical charge, coming from inside. I've heard the rumors. I've seen the warning signs. I know what they want me to do. But, my curiosity gets the better of me. I can't help it. I need to know. Rule number 2 is clear. Never enter room 32G. No one tells you why, they just make sure you follow it. But curiosity, right? It gets to you. I just wanted to know what was so important behind that door. I step closer. My fingers hover over the door handle, cold against the metal. I feel the faint pulse in the air. It's almost like something's alive in there, watching, waiting. I want to open it. I want to see what's inside, just for a moment. But the second I touch the handle, suddenly, the loudest buzzer I've ever heard goes off, cutting through the silence like a knife. My heart stops. I yank my hand back, stumbling back a step. The intercom system crackles to life, and a voice, harsh, mechanical, blasts through the speakers. Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Rule violation. Immediate reporting required. I freeze. My breath catches in my throat. My body goes stiff, and I feel like I'm about to be caught in some trap. I quickly glance around. No one's coming. It's just me. And that buzzer, blaring in my ears. I take a deep breath. My heart is racing now. I can't believe I almost did it. I almost crossed the line. I wasn't supposed to know what was behind that door. No one was. But the longer I worked here, the more I realized something wasn't right. Those rules weren't there to keep us safe. They were there to keep something contained. Something that didn't belong here. The feeling of dread that washes over me is like a cold chill. This place isn't just a job. It's a prison. And I'm starting to realize that these rules, they're not just part of the job. They're a lifeline. If I don't follow them, I might never get out of here. I turn away from the door, the hum of the facility once again filling the empty space. I swallow hard, trying to shake the panic. I know better than to question the rules. I know what happens when people do. But the question still lingers, what is behind those doors? And more importantly, what will happen when I find out? I didn't come here to uncover secrets. I didn't sign up for whatever was happening in this place. I was just a janitor. But tonight, the rules weren't enough anymore. I couldn't just clean my way out of this. It was late. The facility felt quieter than usual. The usual hum of machines, though ever present, seemed muffled tonight. I had my mop, my cart, and the routine to follow. It had been like this for months, nothing more than a job. Nothing more than routine. I shuffled down the hall, the wheels of my mop bucket squeaking in the silence. The fluorescent lights above buzzed quietly, casting a dull, almost sickly glow on the floor beneath me. But then, I saw it. A puddle. Small. Clear. Out of place. It wasn't here when I walked by earlier. I stopped, staring at it. It wasn't like anything I'd seen before. It was almost alive. I didn't want to look at it, but I couldn't stop. Something about it felt wrong. Too still, too perfect, too quiet. Rule number 3, if you see liquid, don't touch it. Report it. But there was something about this puddle, like it was calling to me. What could happen, right? It's just cleaning. I took a step closer, and my fingers gripped the mop handle tighter. I could feel the pulse of the place in my bones, like it was alive. My hand hovered over the puddle for a moment before I moved the mop toward it. But as I did, it rippled. Not in a normal way. Not like a spill that just moves with the flow. No, this was different. The liquid moved unnaturally, as if it had a mind of its own. Then, a sound filled the air. A whisper. Soft. Almost imperceptible. But it wasn't the usual hum of machinery. It was something else. A voice? It didn't make sense. My stomach turned. I froze, watching as the puddle shifted again, the liquid swirling, pulling in on itself like it was trying to form something or someone. Before I could move, the door behind me opened. And that's when I saw it. The figure stepped out into the hallway, just behind me. It wasn't one of the staff. It wasn't even human. It was tall, its body distorted, wrong. Its eyes were dark, empty. Like something was missing. The skin was too pale, too stretched, and its movements were stiff, almost jerky. But it didn't move toward me. It just stood there. Staring. I took a step back, my heart thudding in my chest. My hands went clammy on the mop handle, but I couldn't look away. My pulse was rushing in my ears, louder than the quiet whispers. This wasn't part of the job. I wasn't supposed to deal with this. I wasn't supposed to even see it. I looked down at my mop, my thoughts scrambled. What was this thing? Why was it looking at me? Why was I still standing here, frozen? Then, the intercom crackled to life. The voice was cold, detached. It didn't need to say much. It didn't need to remind me of the rules. It was too late for that now. Rule number 3, do not mop the liquid. Report it immediately. I stood there, my mind racing, but I couldn't make myself move. The creature, the thing, was still watching me. It hadn't moved, but I could feel it. I could feel it thinking. I didn't know what was going on. The place was alive with things that weren't supposed to be here. I was just a janitor, but now I was in the middle of something far bigger than I could understand. I snapped out of my trance and ran. I didn't care anymore about the rules, the mop, or the cart. I just ran, as fast as I could. My legs felt like lead, but I pushed myself harder. I didn't stop until I reached the nearest office, the door slamming behind me as I locked it. I leaned against the door, my breath coming fast, my body shaking. But I couldn't stop looking back. The thing, it was out there. Somewhere. I knew it. It wasn't going to leave me alone. I stumbled back, trying to steady myself, but then I heard it, the sound of tapping. Light, soft, but unmistakable. The tapping was coming from the door. It was coming from the other side of the office. I froze again, my heart pounding in my throat. The thing was following me. It knew where I was. It was close. Too close. The tapping continued. Quick, rhythmic. Like it was trying to get in, trying to break through. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't human. It couldn't have been. But somehow, it knew me, knew my name. I was supposed to just clean. But something inside this place, something ancient, wanted me to know more. The tapping stopped, and in that instant, all I could hear was the faint hum of the facility's air system. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. But there was no sense to be made. I had to do something. I had to get out. But I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't even move. And then the voice came again, this time not through the intercom. It came from the door. It came from the thing on the other side, its voice deep, distorted. "We know you're in there, Aaron. We've been waiting. Waiting for you." I gripped the chair in front of me, trying to steady myself. But it was useless. The fear had taken hold. I was trapped in this room. Trapped with it. The silence stretched on. Every muscle in my body was tense. And then, I heard the scratching. The faint, sickening sound of claws against the door, as though the creature was trying to claw its way in. My hands trembled as I gripped the back of the chair harder, my nails digging into the wood. I couldn't stay here. I had to move. I had to find a way out. But the thing outside, the thing that wasn't human, wasn't going to make it easy. It never did. The last thing I remember thinking before everything went black, was that I had just crossed the line. And there was no going back. A few nights later, I found it. An old journal hidden in a maintenance closet, tucked away behind cleaning supplies I'd passed 100 times before. It was worn, the pages yellowed and brittle, but inside, it was different. This wasn't some forgotten relic of the past. It was a warning. I flipped through the pages quickly, and as I did, the notes began to make less sense, then more, until everything suddenly clicked. The journal was filled with cryptic entries, some hastily written, others scrawled as if written in a hurry, almost like someone was racing against time. The journal mentioned a project, Project Obsidian. It said nothing should leave the facility. It also said if I ever saw anyone outside my shift hours, it wasn't really them. That's when I realized the truth, I wasn't just cleaning. I was watching the shadows, keeping things from escaping. And some rules were meant to keep us in. I leaned against the closet door, the weight of the journal heavy in my hands. The words were burning into my mind, making sense of everything that had happened here. All those rules I'd followed so blindly, the strange occurrences, the hidden rooms. It all added up now. They weren't just keeping us safe. They were keeping us contained. I walked through the facility, the journal still clutched in my hands, its pages leading me deeper into places I never should have gone. My heart raced, but I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. I had to know. The walls seemed to press closer as I passed them, the quiet of the hallways now oppressive, suffocating. I started following the instructions from the journal, instructions that contradicted everything I'd been told. Instructions about secret passages, hidden doors, and rooms that didn't exist. With every step, I felt like I was breaking the rules, and yet, I was unlocking a part of this place that no one ever spoke about. The journal described a room that shouldn't be on any map, a place hidden so well that no one was supposed to find it. But I did. And what I found inside that room wasn't just old files or forgotten equipment. It was evidence. Evidence of what had been happening here. The thing they'd been keeping locked away. There, in the corner of the room, were large containment units. They weren't meant for anything I'd ever seen. They were cold, clinical, but inside, something was moving. The walls, the glass, everything was designed to keep it contained. And as I looked closer, I realized it wasn't just one thing. It was something else. Something alien. And I was part of its containment. I tried to ignore the feeling creeping up my spine. I wasn't supposed to know about this. I wasn't supposed to have found it. But now, there was no turning back. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. And neither could they. Not after I knew the truth. I knew the rules. I thought I understood them. But I'd never truly understood the cost of breaking them until now. Rule number 7, if your badge changes, run. I'd seen that warning before, but I never truly understood it. Now, it was my only chance. I felt the change before I saw it. A sudden flicker in my ID badge, a shift in the glow. The red light blinked once. Then again. I froze for a second, but only for a second. Panic surged through me. Something had changed. The alarms went off just as my heart caught in my throat. Evacuation breach in progress. All personnel, please comply. I didn't need to hear it again. I had to go. Now. I turned, running down the hall, my feet pounding against the cold concrete. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The warning had been clear. The door at the end of the hall was still locked. But I knew what had to be done. I ran faster, pushing through the facility's corridors like a man possessed. The red lights flashing overhead made everything feel more urgent, more real. I had been too close. Too close to something I wasn't supposed to know. I rounded the corner, and there it was, the exit. The emergency door, the one I had passed countless times, but had never needed. I reached for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The door was locked down. The rules weren't just to protect us. They were a prison. And I'm not the only one trapped in it. I slammed my shoulder into the door. Nothing. I could hear something moving behind me. The air felt heavier. The walls felt tighter. The very building seemed to breathe. And then, with a groan, the door gave way. I pushed through, out into the storm. The cold hit me like a slap in the face. But I didn't stop. I didn't have time to stop. I stumbled forward, my breath visible in the freezing air. The snow whipped across my face, stinging my skin. But I kept moving, one foot in front of the other. I had no idea where I was going, but it didn't matter. I just had to get away from the facility. Get away from it. The storm outside was relentless. The facility's silhouette was barely visible behind me, its lights flickering as I ran. The sky above was a deep, dark expanse. The wind howled as I made my way into the wilderness, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. The rules had been broken, and there was no going back now. But I knew. I knew that this wasn't over. It had only just begun. The rules weren't there to keep us safe. They were there to make sure we didn't escape. And the truth I uncovered wasn't something I could forget. Rules are meant to contain, not protect. And you've just discovered the truth. I looked back once, just once, at the facility disappearing into the storm behind me. I couldn't hear the alarms anymore. But I knew. I knew the rules weren't just to keep us in line. They were to keep something else from breaking free. I was just a janitor. But now, I knew. I was the one who had been watching it all along.